Hey, how's it going? Uh, it's been a while since we've done this. A long while. I don't have any of my regular like setup here, so I apologize. I'm gonna do my best to. I don't know. I think it's working. I don't even know if it's working. It's been a while, but I'm doing some research on intersection observer, and I thought instead of just doing that by myself, I could do it here. And then if you're interested in this stuff or you just want to hang out, then we can do it together. So here we are together. Hello to the handful of people who are watching right now. Okay, so today my goal is I'm working on a project right now that involves intersection observer, and I want to make a video about it. But it's kind of like an interesting like challenge because like intersection observer is kind of like a boring API. So I was thinking about ways that I could make like a more interesting video about it. Um, and so as I learn, I'm kind of thinking about how I can make a video and what are the most important takeaways. So what I have here is I had asked on social um like what some people found to be like really helpful resources when learning about intersection observer. So I caught a bunch of those. I think, let's see, Prince gave me a great one and Ashley gave me a great one. These two blog posts I'm really excited about. And then I have a handful of videos both on intersection observer like outright, or like things that you can do with intersection observer, which is like animate and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to be going through today. And so, yeah, if you had any interest in this, then, I hope that you enjoy. One thing that I am kind of curious about is whether or not the audio is going to come through, because I'm not sure if I set that up properly, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. Hopefully I didn't break anything, and it'll still come through. Actually, I'm gonna give it a try. If you're
Hi there,
hearing
my name is Kevin, and welcome to this
what
video
you
where we're going to be
hear,
looking at
it looks
intersection
loud.
observers. You guys have been asking for some JavaScript, and we're finally doing some
Okay.
after a long time
That
of not
should
having done
be
any, so
all
that
right.
is
You
pretty
should be able to
exciting.
hear me and the
Just
video
if you don't know what
in, I
intersection
don't know,
observers
decent
are,
pairing.
they're really
So,
they're
okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, let's dive in. Where was I? Okay, so these are the things that I am hoping to do. I want to collect some resources. I did do that, so done there. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Cool. Stream content. Okay. Here we go. We're doing that. I'm gonna put an X because technically it is done enough, but we're gonna do some take it further. Okay. So complete competitive analysis, determine title and thumbnail of this video. So this is something that's kind of interesting right off the bat. Is I looked at these videos. Actually, I'm gonna do this. Let's go to YouTube, and we're just going to type in intersection observer server. Now we get these videos, and as far as I can tell, like the most let's see if we sort it by we're looking at all the videos. How do we sort? Oh, yeah, there we go. Sort by view count. Um the videos that seemed, so you kind of see like the videos like flip. All these videos that we saw first place like on the tournament match actually like went to like a lower place. And I was realizing like through like kind of the finding these videos that a lot of them are based on like a feature. So this one's animate on scroll, which is kind of an interesting concept. This one's infinite scroll. This is a Chrome announcement, which is interesting. But it got me thinking that like a more compelling version of this video is maybe video specifically on what is possible through these APIs. So I'm gonna focus, I think, on the infinite scroll case because that's the one that I think is most like grokkable. There's enough context there, and it's pretty easy. Like as soon as you hit the end, you can do the thing. I'm curious if that's enough to justify thinking about intersection observer versus just kind of like scroll. height, like on a scroll event, but we'll see. Okay, cool. Let's dive into it. Covered all of that. Um, I think I'm gonna start with the blog posts. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so the first one I got was this blog post by StephanieEckles. Oh shoot, where is it? It's been a week since I've actually looked at this stuff, so it's kind of in shambles right now, as is the state of all my notes. Learner outcomes, cool demos. Where did I put the posts? All right. Okay. So intersection observer, use the intersection observer web API as a performant way to track where elements are in viewports and other scrollable regions. StephanieEckles is great, by the way. She writes a ton of really great stuff. I think this is from like a 12 Days of Christmas thing. You should definitely sign up. I love little series like this. This is super cool. Okay, so what is Intersection Observer API? The Intersection Observer IO web API is an asynchronous way to watch the visibility of target elements either within their ancestors or the main viewport. Okay, to watch the visibility of target elements. Okay, so like this could be our target element and it is currently visible and then now it's not visible. So I think that's what I'm understanding. Okay, you can trigger additional events based on the target element's visibility and position, aka where it's intersecting. Importantly, this observation happens off the main thread. Okay, that's the asynchronous part, meaning it can be more performant alternative to other scroll tracking methods. Okay, cool. Zoom this in a little bit. While IO is technically, or Intersection Observer is technically an experimental API, it has very good browser support. Let's pop that open. Yeah, when was this written? I have a feeling that it's just kind of standard now. Because let's see, let's look at this. So we have current, let's see, relative usage. Yeah, it's got 97.26%. That's good enough for me to call it standard. So let's carry on. Very good. Browser support being experimental mostly means it is possible that it could undergo breaking changes. This is good. Okay. Not too worried about that. IO core features and concepts. Let's consider a scenario where an IO is useful. Intersection observer, a sticky table of contents for in-page links where you want to highlight the current section. Okay, a sticky table of contents for in-page links. Okay. Previously, you may have taken measurements between the top of the viewport and the top of each new section. Yep. Okay. Then set up a scroll tracking to add a class to the related link. With IO, you can instead separately observe when each page section intersects. So the midpoint of the viewport and the trigger updating an active link state. Look, that's a mouthful. Okay, so I think if I understand correctly, it binds it more to the let's see, like the target, effectively. So we can, instead of saying we know that this element is this high on this big of a document, we just grab that element and say if it's visible, then we're in that section and we want to activate that element. Is kind of the conceptual difference. It's a little bit more, I guess, declarative in that way, where you're saying I want this element to be in screen when I make this change, as opposed to calculate the difference between this element and the floor of the page to know whether or not it's in scope or something. I've never actually done that, so I don't know. I don't have a proper comparison kind of like logged into my head. let's see. When using intersection observer, the target element intersection is calculated based on 3 options. Okay, this is helpful. And then I'm going to take notes as we go through this. So 3 options: root, an ancestor or element used for tracking visibility, defaulting to the browser viewport. Okay, cool. That is interesting. Also, Arc has these cool quote links, which I think are really awesome, um, because you can. They unfurl. Like if you paste a link, it'll actually like show this as a quote, which is really awesome. I do worry about like rot. Like if you know the browser company goes under, what's going to happen with all of those links? Um, because that's the other thing is here. Let's go to VS Code. Um, if I paste that link, it's like this fully obfuscated arc link. It doesn't actually link back to the content with additional stuff, which is sad. Just sad. All right. Okay. So let's make a section here for the API. I'm just gonna put any section anywhere. Let's just go to the top. Okay, so the API has a handful of terms we're learning. There is the root, and that is okay. An ancestor element used. Okay, so it defaults to the browser. That is an important, or the viewport, which is an important kind of takeaway for me. So I'm gonna mark that. Knowing your defaults is like half the battle, in my opinion. Dude, Travis, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Does this work? Oh, hey, there it is. Good to see you. I'm slowly clawing my way out of the dark. And I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Okay, cool. So the next part is rootMargin. So this enables changing the intersection bounding box using percent or pixel values corresponding to the top, right, bottom, and left, similar to margin. Useful for tracking based on passing. For example, the midpoint of the ancestor versus the bottom or the edge. Okay. rootMargin. rootMargin. Copy link to highlight. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Threshold is the percentage of the target element that must be visible to trigger the callback. Wow, this is already a little bit more advanced than I thought it would be, which is like really exciting. The idea that like this root, at what point it's considered out, what percentage wise, like, less than 5% or more than 95%. Okay, defined as a single number or an array of decimal values between 1 and 0. Okay, cool. Let's grab that. Copy link to highlight. And let's grab this term. Okay, so we have threshold, rootMargin, and root. Okay. Once the target is visible based on these parameters, the intersection observer initiates a callback with additional data you can use for your event. One intersecting bit of data is the time in milliseconds between when an observer was started and when the callback was triggered. I got you for intersection observer is the threshold value. If you select 1, meaning when the element is 100% visible, then the entirety of the element must be visible within the root at once. Given scrollable areas ranging from phones to mega monitors with varying resolutions, aspect ratios, 100% is difficult to achieve without failing in some scenarios. The default for threshold is 0, meaning as soon as even 1 pixel is visible, the callback will initiate. That is also worth noting. So the default is 0. Okay, so anytime it's in the document at all, and I'm assuming like with text and stuff, there's a little bit of kind of line height on those elements. So in this case, that could be considered in for this line, assuming. We'll find out. More reliable, let's see, a more reliable way to change when a callback occurs is to adjust the root margin to reposition it when at what point the target element needs to intersect the root. A more reliable way to change when a callback occurs is to adjust the root margin. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. So I think this is like the invisible space around an element. We want to change that instead of this threshold. So that's a good point. So let's call this section tips. Better to adjust margin. Root margin than threshold in most cases. Okay, like that. Okay, creating a basic intersection observer. First, we'll make sure the API is available. So we would say if intersection observer in window. Let's run that test. Oh my gosh. One thing that I absolutely hate about Arc is the dev tools are like unusable. I can't like zoom in or out of them. So bear with me. We're just going to check this. So intersection observer is going to live on the window. So if we go to our console, intersection observer. Cool. We have that as native code. Perfect. Okay, so then we initiate the observer and begin observing our target. Okay, so okay. Hey, thanks for the like. Okay, so sorry, the the styling on all this stuff is whack right now. But yeah, so multiple thresholds equals multiple triggers. I don't know yet. That's a good question. Let's figure it out. Let's see. So box element is document.get element by ID box, and then observe intersection observer. So we have a callback with our options. Box observer, and then we call observe on it. And okay, cool. Okay, so let's see if we have any. I assume that these headings are going to have IDs. So let's use this post and create an intersection observer. So first, which heading is this? Basics heading. I'm sorry for the small size. I wish I could zoom it inside of Arc, but it's going to blow things up. Equals document.get element by ID. Oh, I didn't even look at the ID. Okay, that's the ID we'll use. Don't paste code. Oh my gosh. I'm on a new machine, so or not a new machine, a reformatted machine. So all of these things I have to do again. So allow pasting. Um, okay, let's write that again. So box heading we want to track is document.get elements by ID. What? I did that. Please type allow pasting below to allow pasting. Okay, do I have to not do it in? Okay, allow pasting. Is that it? Now can I do it? Now will you let me do it? Const heading equals document.get element by ID. Finally, okay, so we have it. Okay, heading, we have our element. Great. Oh my gosh, it's 1,000,000 degrees in here. Give me a sec. Okay, we have our element. Now we need to create an intersection observer. So our heading observer, let's do that, equals a new intersection observer. And we'll just do an anonymous callback for now. We will console.log args. Can we do that? And then I'm not too worried about the options. I just want like a basic, I just want a basic one. Okay. And then we're going to do heading observer dot observe. And then we pass in our heading. Okay, gotcha. So this intersection observer will observe anything once we create it. So I didn't need to name this heading observer because it doesn't have any notion of the heading. Okay. Heading observer is not a function. Maybe I just spelled it. Oh, yeah, I spelled it wrong. Observer, that's going to be observe. Reference args is not available. Okay, we can fix that. We're just going to take args. Oh, right, because it's arguments, isn't it? Okay, whatever. We'll just take them. Okay, run it again. Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, so we're observing this. Let's see. It looks like it's in the document right now. So we had it log out these two elements. What it logs out is the intersection. What is it? What does it call it? Intersection observer entry, which includes. I can zoom in that way. Let's see, which includes a bounding client rect, intersection rect, root bounds, target, and time. Okay, so they did mention time. And then two, what's this? Delay, root, margin root, scroll margin, threshold. Okay, so these are the APIs that we know about, which, okay. Perfect. I guess those are options. Actually, let's test that theory out. So if I redefine this function and provide it an option, which is going to be the, let's call it, what did we say? Root margin. So right now, root margin looks like that. Let's assume it's an object. I don't know yet. Root margin. Let's just do one rem all around. root margin must be specified in pixels or percentages. Okay. Okay, we'll call this 8 pixels. Okay, cool. Now, if I get that to log again, actually I have to run the function, the new function with the header. Okay, so if I get that to log again, yes. Okay, so we have our margin of 8 pixels, which means that that is coming from our handler, is that's coming from our definition of those options, which are an object, which is great. Okay, so this is our basic usage. I'm going to copy that. So basic usage, pretty simple. We don't have anything. I'm actually going to take these options out because totally optional, as the name implies. Okay, so, oh man, I wish that was more visible. I'm just going to read what you have to say, Travis. The big gotcha for observer is that they are designed to observe multiple elements, just one. So if they have the same logic, use one observer for multiple elements. Yes, yeah. So there's a separation here, right? Like I could have a log element as it enters frame type of thing, which is what I'm doing right here. And then I could apply that to any element as it goes in and out of frame. I am curious. I am finding myself curious. Like, so we have a reference here, right? So do we turn, can we, how do we stop observing? Observer dot, like, what do we have? We have, oh, disconnect. Observe. I assume disconnect is how we turn it off. And it looks like we can apply options after the fact. So disconnect. Now, as I scroll this element in and out of view, okay, I had multiples of them though, so this probably isn't fair. I probably just, they're off in memory somewhere. Okay. I do like that as maybe a better example. Not better, but maybe a more kind of like step-by-step example. Oh, yeah, yep, unobserved element. So I need to turn it off on the element. That is a good call. Thank you, Travis. Yeah, so let's do this again. I just want to make sure I get all the basics right. So, okay, so it's off right now. We're going to take that heading and we'll say, so const heading document.get element by ID. Okay, so we have that heading. Great. Okay, so now we're going to create an intersection observer that's more generic now that we know that it's not tied to a specific element. So this will be like log element. I don't know. I guess we could I don't know. We'll just log the whole element. This is an intersection observer that we then provide a callback, which we could actually, so console dot, sorry for the dings, my text are on. Okay, so we could create a function. So function. Sorry, I'll see if I can zoom in again. There we go. Okay, so function log element is going to take, we're just going to take all those args. We'll do the same function as we did last time. log. Okay, let's return that now that it's strictly necessary. Okay, cool. So now we have a function called log args. Okay, generic function that just takes the args and logs them out. Now we want to create a new intersection observer, which is const and log observe element. Already getting confused. Okay, observe element. This is going to take a callback, or let's see, log args as element is observed. Okay, and then we give it the function of log args. We don't need any options if we don't want. Missing initializer consts. Oh my gosh. Good Lord. Intersection observer. Need to zoom back out so I can actually see the API we're working with. Okay, box observe intersection observer. New intersection observer. Okay, cool. Now that looks right. I was just typing. Okay, cool. Now we have a log args as element is observed with a little misspelling there. And we're going to call observe on this with our heading. Okay, now it is in view, and so we're going to take it out and push it back in, and it pops into view. Actually, let's see. There we go. Yeah, so we can see it go in and out of view. We get an event for each, which is really cool. Okay, now we want to turn this off, right? So if we want to turn that off, we're going to say log args dot disk. What was it again? Unobserve, which is a fabulous name, I think. Unobserve that. Now as I scroll, that should turn off. Okay, cool, perfect. And it did. Great. Whoa.
Chrome 51.
Okay, so that is all. I think I accidentally closed that. Bummer. Okay, so I think that is a good kind of like place though. So what we've learned is observe, unobserve, and okay. We got to play with it a little bit. Only problem is now I need to dang it, it all went away. Okay, so next we had, I'm just gonna write a note about what we did. We used observe, unobserve, and we separated all the kind of disparate functions out. Reusable chunks out. Great. Okay, so I think we understand the basics of how this works right now. For a callback function, we'll receive an array of entries regardless of the number of target elements. Okay, so callback function will receive an array of entries regardless of the number of target elements. I have confusion about that, but we'll see how it goes. In our example, we're only worried about a single entry, so we can save that by the 0 index. We'll ensure it's intersecting. We'll ensure it's intersecting, remove the observer, and perform our event. Ensure that it's intersecting, remove the observer, and perform our event. Okay. So we have a callback, which takes entries, I assume multiple elements based on the context of this post. Box, entries of 0. Oh, gotcha. So it can be multiple elements, but we want to make sure that we're grabbing the first one, that we're operating on the first one, unless we're intentionally using multiple elements. So if box is intersecting, return. Oh, cool. So we have this is intersecting. So we have entries, which I guess we name which is an array. And so in most cases, if we're just using 1, we're going to say entries of 0. And then we can also do conditions like if not box dot is intersecting. Okay, so this is where, so is intersecting. Okay, cool. Box observer dot unobserve. So if the box is not intersecting, return. Observer dot unobserve. We're going to stop observing box dot target. Oh, okay, gotcha. So this is going to have elements. So this is an array of elements. Box text content intersected, box element style background yellow. Okay. Okay, so removing the observer is best if you only need to trigger the callback once. Yes. In the scenario of our sticky table of contents, we would want to keep the observer active. Yes. Okay, Travis says it's because if you observe multiple items, multiple elements can intersect at the same time. Therefore, multiple entries can be returned. Ah, gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Cool. What have you used this for, Travis? Just out of curiosity. I'm always like, I'm very interested in use cases that other people have like used this for. Oh my gosh. All the AC goes off at 5 and I totally forgot about that. So I'm like burning alive. Okay, due to setup of this tutorial page, we need to scope our observer to the root to demo scrollable element of the box root. Then we'll also adjust the root margin to pull the bottom up to 50%, meaning our callback won't trigger until the box is scrolled above the midpoint of the root element. Okay, so the root margin is relative to the root element. Okay, got it? Okay, so we have a box element, options, root element. So that's the box root. Okay, got it. Basic intersection observer. What does our CSS look like? Okay, so we have a box root, a box, and a midpoint. Okay. The JavaScript, We are testing for the feature. Great. Box element equals document dot get element by ID box. Const root element document dot get element by ID box root. Box element, root element. Okay. Root margin 50%, which again we can use pixel values or percentage values. And const callback. Okay, so this is what she's constructed earlier, which we already looked at. And then the intersection observer, we provide our, let's see, what are the options? Yeah, root element. And then, okay, cool, perfect. Great, great, great. Also, another cool thing with the options, you can apply it to different root elements, which gives you a lot of flexibility between the callback and the root element, which is nice. Observer.observe box element, great. And then it unobserves itself, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to scroll. As this thing goes, it turned to intersected and changed the background color of that element. But it doesn't go back because it unobserved itself on that one event, which is interesting. Okay, cool. I like it. Okay, ideas for using the intersection observer. Besides the sticky table of contents tracking, possibly also familiar to you as Scroll Spy, here are some other ideas. Analytics events involving visibility or read time. Oh, cool. Yeah, actually, that could be a fun sample. So, read time. Let's see, trigger animations. Yes. We'll see that in some of the other examples that I have. Lazy load assets and scripts. Yep. Then closing out of view menus, toolbars, and overlays. That's actually a really great idea. I like that a lot. That is something that you kind of get is a more like native experience, I think, where you open up a menu and then maybe you switch away or you scroll out of it or something. It closes, which does make the web feel kind of webby. I guess like you can scroll and all that stuff. There's no my there's no experience of it having like closed in the background or whatnot because it's just visible in the DOM. Interesting. Okay, additional resources. NBN documentation. Yes, of course. A few different tracking methods in the context of gathering analytics events. Let's see what we got here. Gathering. Let's see. Almond provides a deep investigation into intersection observer. Preeti provides a several practical use cases for intersection observer, like lazy loading or pausing out on videos. Okay, cool. That is very cool. I like. Oh, okay. So then there's another post with use cases. Oh, awesome, man. There's just so much possible to do here. Infinite pagination as well. Yes. Keep loading the next X items. Yeah. I think that's great. That's a great point, Travis, for sure. And that's kind of the like, and I guess that's my question is like, of these examples, which one is kind of the most like, which one has the most meat on it for a video? Because I think that you can learn all of this stuff, but like having a nice entry point is really helpful. Okay, great stuff. Great stuff. What I want to do next is go to that second article I had, which I think is very, very good. And I want to see, we're going to see some examples in that one. So let's pull that up. It was this article, Smashing Magazine. Okay. Let's dive in. By Michelle Barker for Smashing Magazine. It's about a 14-minute read. I'll probably have to leave at some point after that. I think I need to be home by 6. So let's see. Quick summary. Have you ever needed to build a UI where some component on the page needs to respond to an element as they've scrolled to a certain threshold within the viewport, or perhaps in and out of viewport itself? In JavaScript, attaching an event listener to constantly fire a callback on a scroll can be performance intensive, and if used unwisely can make for a sluggish user experience. But there is a better way with intersection observer. Okay. Intersection Observer API is a JavaScript API that enables us to observe an element and detect when it passes a specified point in the scrolling container, often, but not always, the viewport, triggering a callback function. Intersection Observer can be considered more performant than listening for scroll events on the main thread, as it is asynchronous. Okay. It's probably, we've read that at the beginning of both of these, and so I'm going to make a note about it. Asynchronous. Can never spell that word without reading another spelling of it. And the callback will only fire when the element we're observing meets the specified threshold instead every time the scroll position is updated. Callback will only fire when the element we're observing meets the specified threshold. Okay. Long sentence. Long sentence is hard for me to read. Intersection observer can be considered more performant than listening for scroll events on the main thread, as it is asynchronous. And the callback will only fire when the element we're observing meets the specified threshold, instead of every time the scroll position is updated. That's a lot, but yes, I understand. Instead of like every scroll. Got it. In this article, we'll walk through an example of how we can use Intersection Observer to build a fixed header component that changes when it intersects with different sections of a web page. Basic usage. To use Intersection Observer, we need to first create a new observer, which takes two parameters: an object with the observer's options and a callback function that we want to execute whenever the element we're observing, known as the observer target, the element we're observing, intersects with the root scroll container, which must be an ancestor of the target element. Okay. I wonder if that's validated when you create the intersection observer. It couldn't be, right? Because that function would have to be evaluated. Yeah. Okay, const options. Okay, so we're going to, for our root, do document query selector data scroll root. Okay. So it looks like we can, put that anywhere. Presumably it's going to go something on the body. Root margin, that's the default. Threshold 1. So that's 100%, which the default is 0%, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay, cool. Let's see. So callback entries observer. Okay, this one we're actually taking the second argument, which we hadn't seen, I don't think, in any of the previous examples. Okay. When we've created our observer, we then need to instruct it to watch a target element. So const target. So we're going to select our target element with this data query selector, and then we will call the observer.observe with the target element. Okay. Any of the options values can be omitted as they will fall back to their default values. Yes. So, okay. If no root is specified, then it will be classed as the browser viewport. Yes. And the above code example shows the default values for both root margin and threshold. These can be hard to visualize. So so are worth explaining. Okay, so root margin. Okay, let's jump to this. Root margin value is a bit like adding CSS margins to a root element, and just like margins can take multiple values, include negative values, the target element will be considered to be intersecting relative to the margins. Okay, I love this visualization. This is amazing. Okay, so we have root margin 50 pixels. So it puts this 50 pixel margin around the element. Now I'm curious how that relates to like, I guess I should probably put some questions in here. Um like how does root margin resolve um element margin? Like if there's margin on the root element, is it like additive, or is this just like the other one just gets ignored and this one this is what we use? Because obviously margin is for layout, but if it's root element, we don't give a crap about the layout. um Interesting. So we can do negative margin, which is really interesting. um that seems like a recipe for disaster. But I can see the need for it. Like if you have an element right there, but even there, like, when you get that bounce effect from scrolling, it seems like you could just have a bag of hurt with that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Did this open in a new page? What happened here? Um, okay, so the scroll root. So this is defining this scroll root with positive and negative margin values. The orange square is positioned at this point where it would be classed as intersecting, assuming the default threshold value is 1. Okay. Okay, so Travis says that he thinks the default or the element margin matters. So I'd love to check that out. Let's see. Vasily, I think, did I get that right? Hopefully I did. Thanks for hanging out with us. I am just reading about Intersection Observer. I am using Intersection Observer for like an infinite scroll type thing. And I thought, since I am using it, I might as well use this opportunity to make a video about it. Yeah, so I'm just learning in real time, documenting some things, and then I will make like an actual video about what I learned about the API and, I don't know, an interesting use case. Okay, so this means that an element can technically be classed as as intersecting even when it is out of view if our scroll root is the viewport. Yes. So if you increase the margin 0 threshold, it will still capture it. Okay. The orange square is intersecting with the root even though it is outside the visible area. Now, Travis, I'm actually really curious. Oops, sorry, let me remove that. Travis, I'm super curious. When you did infinite scroll, did you like create an element at the bottom that you observed for like intersections? Like, did you have to have an element there to know when it triggered? Because it seems like you could compare scroll height, but the benefit of using an intersection observer would be to have a like presumably like a load more button, right? Um, and when that load more button shows, you would just load more for the person is kind of like the way that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, okay. So, cool. So you're saying an empty div is what you used. Okay, cool. That's helpful to know that I'm thinking about it the right way, or the way that you have experienced it. Okay, so root margin defaults to 0 pixels, but can take a string consisting of multiple values, just like using the margin property in CSS, which is nice. I might add that to my notes. Syntax is like the margin property. Oh, nice, cool. Well, good luck studying computer science. I think it's fun. I love it. I don't actually know much about computer science, but I do love programming, especially for the web. So yeah, best of luck. Best of luck. Henri Helvetica, what's up? Good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing? What are your what's your favorite use case for intersection observer? Also, I was laughing so hard. I cannot remember who it was, but I saw someone on Twitter just just laying it on thick that you were single and shouldn't be, and I was cracking up. It was so funny. So funny. Love it. Uh yeah, IO, aka the old lazy load. Yes, the old what's the new lazy load? Is that like I mean, I know different what is it? Like Astro has like visible. Um I assume I mean, what do they do? Do they use intersection observer? I don't know. Okay, cool. Threshold. Man, I love these illustrations so much. It is just hard to say how much I just love these illustrations. Um Okay, the threshold can consist of a single value or any array of values between 0 and 1. It represents the proportion of the element that must be within the root bounds for it to be considered intersecting. Using the default value of 1, okay, so the default is 1. I thought it was 0, but I guess not. Value of 1, the callback will fire when 100% of the target elements is visible within the root. Also, any of you guys going to conferences this year? And which ones? Because I always love seeing y'all at the conferences. Um, I think I'm going right now. I'm going to. Um, I don't know if this has been announced, but I think Kent's doing an Epic Web conference. So I think that would be cool. And then what else am I doing? React Miami, which will be my first year. Super excited about that one. Yeah, which one? Which ones are y'all going to? Okay, so this was being used for images at one point before lazy load support was at. Oh yeah, gotcha. Yes, I see what you're saying now. Um, so like before you could just like do there was browser support for just lazy loading images. We would use this. Got it. Yeah, which wait, CSP, is that a CFP? Yeah. Yeah, to which conferences? Which conferences? Um, let's see. Using the default value of 1, the callback will fire when 100% of the target element is visible within the root. Okay, so in this case, the root margin we have out here, it has to be fully inside of this dotted square area, which has the negative root margin in order for it to be visible. But in this case, even at 0%, I think that means like a single pixel, we would still see something. Root margin negative 20 pixels, threshold half. So once we see half of the element, that threshold that would enact. Okay, threshold of 1, 0, and 0.5 respectively result in the callback firing when 100%, 0%, and 50% visible. It's not always easy to visualize when an element will be classed as visible using these options. I built a small tool to help get to grips with the intersection observer. Oh, hell yes. I'm so excited about this. Oh man, this is awesome. So freaking cool. Yes, this is definitely going in my video. Visualization tool. Okay, so we're gonna adjust the root margin and threshold values. The two shaded boxes show where the elements intersection ratio matches the threshold value. Okay, so this is our margin. Let's set it to 0. I want to get it like just the most basic. So I think these are the defaults, at least as presented in the article. It's root margin of 0 and threshold of 1. In this case, this element, we're going to scroll. Okay, I'm confused now. What are oh, is that just a visualization for the threshold? Oh, yes, got it. Okay, threshold. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Got it. Okay, so this is the size, this threshold visually is the size of the element that we're seeing. And so as we do this, so like 0%, it's going to stay pink. No, it changes as soon changes at that point. Interesting. Okay. Now, if we change the threshold to 1, it's not until after it hits that that it changes color. The first one, at least. And that is affected by doing a negative margin that would kind of make that space encroach further. Interesting. Yeah, this is kind of, I'm glad this tool exists because it's like very, I had a kind of like natural intuition about how this thing worked, and it is not correct at all. Okay, cool. So this second one comes into view and it looks largely like it immediately becomes pink. Interesting. Okay. So fascinating. Okay, so note, threshold can optionally take an array instead of a number. For simplicity, this visualizer only includes a single value option. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Oh, Carl's bet at 5,000. You know, actually, I think I am. Michael Jackson just asked if I wanted to join him and Chance to do it. I think I am going to do it. I am not much of a runner, but yeah, if you're going to be there, I'll see you there. Yeah, that'd be super fun. Or, you know, I'll see you at the start, and then, you know, you'll be off to lunch by the time that I actually cross, probably. Yeah, so, sorry, I missed the timing on this, but margin, yeah, so the margin of, like, the root, surrounding element type thing. Yeah, yeah, not particularly intuitive, but, yeah, it's an interesting API, very interesting. Okay, cool. Love that visualization tool. Okay, let's see. So creating the header. Now that we've grasped the basic principle, let's start building our dynamic header. We'll start with web page divided into sections. This image shows the complete layout of the page we'll be building. Okay, so Happy Face Ice Cream Parlor. This is just a static image, I think. So I've included a demo at the end of this article, so feel free to jump straight to it if you're keen to unpack the code. There's also a GitHub repository. Each section has a minimum height of 100 viewport height, although they could be longer depending on content. Also, Henri, hit me up when if you come into town early or later or whatever. Let me know, and we can grab lunch or something. Would love to see you. Love to see you. Um, let's see, our header is fixed at the top of the page and stays in place as the user scrolls using position fixed. The sections have different colored backgrounds, and when they meet the header, the colors of the header change to complete those of the section. This is also a marker to show the current section the user is in, which slides along when the next section arrives. To make it easier for us to get straight to the relevant code, I've set up a minimal demo for the starting point before we start the intersection observer API in case you'd like to follow along. Okay, so this doesn't have anything attached to it, I don't think. Yeah, no JavaScript. So each section has a different background color, and my understanding is that this header is going to be sticky and adjust as you change sections. Okay, so the markup, I'll start with the markup. I love the use of data attributes, by the way. Data attributes as selectors, brilliant. Big fan, big fan. Um, and 3 anchor links with the attribute data link, which will scroll the user relevant. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Yes, and then obviously there's this is the nav. And then this section has all the contents. Data section has the background color, raspberry, mint, vanilla, and chocolate. Okay, so noteworthy here is that we have the IDs. I'm not going to read all that. We'll position our header with the CSS so that it will stay fixed to the top. Yep. Okay. So position fixed with 100% irrelevant to the fixed part of that. Okay. So it's not sticky. It's just fixed. So it's just going to stay up there. Okay, we'll also give our sections a minimum height and center the content. This code isn't necessarily for intersection observer to work. It's just for design. Okay, not worried about it then. Or I mean, I guess there it is. iFrame warning. While building this CodePen demo, I ran into a perplexing issue where my intersection observer code that should have worked perfectly was failing to fire the callback at the correct point of the intersection. But instead firing when the target element intersected with the viewport edge. After a bit of head scratching, I realized that this was because CodePen content is loaded with an iframe. Interesting. Okay, as a workaround in the demo, we can wrap our markup in another element, which will act as a scrolling container, the roots in our IO options. Okay, cool. Great, 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 great. So if you want to see how to use the viewport, okay, so there's a GitHub repository. I'll click that so I can have a link. In our CSS, we'll define some custom properties for the colors we're using. We'll also define 2 additional custom properties for the header text and the background colors, and set some initial values. We're going to update these 2 custom properties for the different different sections later on. Okay, so these are just our colors. Good, good, good. We'll also set the colors for the different sections. I'm using the data attributes as the selector, but you could just as easily use a class if you prefer. Okay, and then I assume that we're going to use the variables that, like, the reason this is variabilized is so that we can use those variables once we actually make those that intersection. We can also set some styles for a header when each section is in view. Yes. Okay. Cool. So then these are going to match those. Let's see the background color. Great. There's a strong case for using data attributes here because we're going to toggle the data theme attribute of the header upon each intersection. I feel like there's some context missing here. I think I understand why the data attributes are nice here. Because we have this kind of like API where it's like data theme is chocolate. It's like multi-theme by default. Whereas class names get a little hairy when you're trying to do like key and value in the same selector. I think I understand that there's some missing context here, I think. So creating the observer or context that I skipped by virtue of not reading all of the sections. Travis, always a pleasure. Yeah, I'll see you around, friend. Bye. Okay, now that we have the basic HTML and CSS for our page set up, we can create an observer to watch for each of our sections coming into view. We want to fire a callback whenever a section comes into contact with the bottom of the header as we're scrolling the page. This means we need to set negative root margin that corresponds to the height of the header. Okay, so like if the header is 40 pixels, then we want to have a negative root margin of 40 pixels so that this is where my knowledge gets a little fuzzy. Like, is it going to start transitioning or is it going to transition at the moment that it, like, that section touches it, or when it passes it? We shall see. Okay, so query selector, the sections. Okay, so we're going to get all of the sections. So we have an array of all of those sections. Const scroll root document. Okay, so, and then this is like the thing that's wrapping it all, is my understanding. We could also put that in line if we wanted to. So root margin is going to be header offset height times -1 in pixels. So it's just making it a negative value. And the threshold is going to be 0. Okay, we're setting a threshold of 0 as we want to fire if any part of the section is intersecting with the root margin. So first of all, we'll create a callback to change the data theme value of the header. This is more straightforward than adding and removing classes, especially when, oh, I got it. That ties back to the thing where if we had a class, we would have to actually take off a known other class and then put on a class, whereas this, we're just changing the value of the data attribute. Got it. Totally makes sense. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Set attribute data theme, and there can only be one data theme, so it will change that value. Great. Then we'll create the observer to watch for the sections intersecting. So observer, new intersection observer, we pass our on intersect and options. Let's see, where's the on? Yeah, on intersect right here. Sections for each. And so we're going to create an observer. We're going to observe for each section. Okay, great. Let's see how this works. So we have our home. It is this color right now. And then, okay, interesting. It didn't change back, so that's noteworthy. Okay, so as soon as we hit that other one, it switches. Man, these colors are like messing with my eyes hardcore. Okay. Whoa. That changed in the middle somewhere. Then this one changes. That changed in the middle. Oh, are those different sections? They're probably different sections. Interesting. Okay. However, you might notice that the colors aren't updating correctly as we scroll down. In fact, the header is updating with the previous section's colors each time. Scrolling upwards, on the other hand, it works perfectly. We need to determine the scroll direction and change the behavior. Oh, yes. I did not immediately think of that. Yes, but it's going to be a different behavior each time. Okay, finding the scroll direction. We'll set a variable in JS for the direction of the scroll with an initial value of up and another for the last known scroll position, previous Y position. Then within the callback of the scroll position is greater than the previous value, we can set the direction value as down and up. Okay, so, oh, I see. So previous Y position. So every time the event fires, we're going to store a value of what our Y position is, and then use that as a comparison to determine if we're in the act of going up or the act of going down. So scroll root. Where is this coming from? Do we just have access? Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Scroll root dot scroll top. Doesn't get resolved. Oh, scroll root is a variable that we set up here. Okay, so that was the purpose behind making it an available variable. Okay, got it. So that variable has to be in scope for this thing to work. Const on intersection. Okay, that's all the same with the addition of the set scroll direction. Okay, so we'll also create a new function to update the header colors passing in the target. Hold on just a second. Doxing myself here. Let's see, passing the target, but I am gonna have to leave in a second. Good reminder. Let's see. Um, okay, so update colors, target, const theme, target data section, set attribute, data theme on intersect. Okay, gotcha. So far, we should see no change to the behavior of our header, but now that we know the scroll direction, we can pass in a different target for our update colors function. If the scroll direction is up, we'll use the entry target. If it's down, we'll use the next section. Okay, so if direction is up, return target. If target dot next element is sibling, return next element sibling, otherwise return target. Got it. Okay, there's one more issue. However, the header will update not only when the section hits the header, but when the next element comes into view at the bottom of the viewport. That's right. I think that's what we were seeing is as the element came into view, then it was switching, which kind of looked like the middle of the section, which was why I was confused. This is because our observer fires the callback twice. Interesting. Twice. Once that the element is entering and again as it's leaving to determine whether the header should update, we can use the is intersecting key from from the entry object. Let's create another function to return a Boolean value for whether the header colors should update. Okay, should update entry if direction is down and entry is intersecting, return true. If it's up and is intersecting, false. Or sorry, also true, otherwise false. Okay, so if we have a direction, okay, I'm curious why these are both true. So the direction is down. Oh, and it's not intersecting, true. If it's up and it is intersecting, true, otherwise false. Got it. We'll update our on intersect function accordingly. Okay, if should update enter return. Okay. Okay, now our colors should update correctly. We can set CSS transition so that the effect is a little nicer. Okay, transition. Okay, easy. So this is going to stay that pink and cream color, vanilla, until we get to this section. I think, if I'm understanding the code correctly, as soon as they touch, it's going to switch. Yes. Cool. Okay, nice. Again, switch. Now let's see going back the other direction. Very cool. Okay, so part of that is that we're allowing it's interesting to think, 'cause now my brain's thinking like we could use clip path to actually just like have it show the background, which would actually like show the split behind it, which would be kind of cool. But um so on this other side, we're going to wait until we get all the way to cross that section before it switches to the other one, which is a nice touch, I think. Very cool. Okay, adding dynamic marker. So next we'll add a marker to the header. I unfortunately don't have time to go through the full rest of this tutorial, but now you know it's here. So update marker. So I think, let's see the example. So now we have this little face thingy, ice cream face, which is super cute. Love it. Okay, awesome. Okay, browser support, widely supported. You can polyfill in older browsers, some additional resources, etc., etc. Okay, unfortunately, I have to go. But thank you so much for hanging with me for this last what is it, hour and a half, I guess, almost. Yeah, if you could do me a favor and like this, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and that, all that stuff helps me out, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you hanging out. I'll see you in another one of these, and check out my video that I eventually make. All right, peace. See y'all later. Bye.